Before we had the Rosenwald School, people walked long distances to go to these one-room schools. Once you got the Rosenwald School, you could shut down these little one-room schools and everybody could come to a Rosenwald School.
In the early 1900s, gaps in educational opportunities between blacks and whites was the norm, separate and not equal. To narrow this gap, Rosenwald schools were built. They were constructed better and were more accessible for African Americans.
Coming to this two-room school, I'll never forget it. It was the best years of my life, and I'll never forget any of it. Because of what I was taught here and learned here, I moved on up.
The schools were called Rosenwald because they were partially funded from grants from the Rosenwald Fund, established by Julius Rosenwald, an Illinois businessman and philanthropist. Today, we'll uncover the hidden history of two of these important schools.
In Virginia, Rosenwald helped fund 382 schools and support buildings in 79 counties. Most of these buildings remained in operation until Virginia was forced to comply with the United States Supreme Court's decision in Brown v. Board of Education, which outlawed racial segregation in public schools. Preservation Virginia has been working on restoring these buildings and history.
After integration, a lot of these schools were not in use anymore. Actually, there's only 1/3 of the Rosenwald schools in Virginia that are still standing, which was surprising to us.
Were all the structures kind of the same? Or tell me about the architecture of these schools.
They were state-of-the-art buildings. The program started in Tuskegee, and the Tuskegee Institute students designed the Rosenwald schools. By the 1930s, there were over 5,000 Rosenwald schools and teachers' houses and auxiliary buildings built in 15 states.
Dr. Lisa Wynn Bryan has been leading community outreach in the African American community for Preservation Virginia.
Well, the goal was to, build Rosenwald schools in all the rural communities in the South.
What do you know about Julius Rosenwald?
Julius Rosenwald was a businessman. He had a strong business prowess and was very successful. And I think he saw in the community how the African American community was disenfranchised. So he wanted to give back.
Rosenwald would team up with Booker T. Washington and Tuskegee Institute to build thousands of schoolhouses in black communities across the South.
And through that relationship, they start to talk about how we could have this relationship of teaching the black community how to not just read, write, and arithmetic, but to also masonry and home economics and those types of things to make a living. And this was the idea that Booker T. Washington shared with him. Why not start with the black children of the community?
Moselle Booker is a former student of the Rosenwald School in Palmyra, Virginia.
Before we had the Rosenwald School, people walked long distances to go to these one-room schools. The one-room schools were in very poor condition. This school was very well built, but it was also cold because you had wood heaters. We would run into the school and we'd get around the stove. And the larger kids would help the little kids to get warm. When it's nice weather, we went outside and we did the Pledge of Allegiance and we sung, "Oh Beautiful for Spacious Skies." We did not realize that we were second-class citizens. We said the Pledge of Allegiance. We were Americans.
Why do you think the Rosenwald schools were so important to the black community during that time?
Well, for one thing, they were better built, and you could bring all the kids together in one building, and you had better teachers. I mean, you had people with degrees at that time. We always sung to the teacher, "Good morning to you, good morning to you. We're all in our places with sun-shining faces. Oh, this is the way to start a new day.
Moselle walked me through the school and shared some of her memories.
What is the importance of the Rosenwald history, the legacy?
It is a time when we had better schools than the one-room schools that were very, very damp and leaky, and you could stay inside and look out. I mean, this was just like a palace. These were well-built schools. We could bring more students together, more community kids could be together. It was a real step up.
Just 28 miles from Dunbar Rosenwald is another school. Gail Smith attended Second Union Rosenwald from 1953 to 1959. She also has fond memories of attending her school.
I didn't want to stay home. I wanted to come down here because I had Miss Beal. And if you had Miss Beal as a teacher, you wanted to come to school.
Do you think that coming to Second Union formed you and helped you to be who you are today?
Coming here to Second Union School gave me the initiative to do something, make something. And I think by me having the initiative, I knew how to get on a sewing machine. And when I left here, I could sew an outfit. And people would stop me on the street and want to know why I bought it at.
Virginia wasn't the only state with Rosenwald schools. Between 1912 and 1932, the program helped produce 5,357 new educational facilities for African Americans across 15 southern states, providing almost 700,000 African American children in rural, isolated communities with state-of-the-art facilities at a time when little to no public money was put toward black education. There are many notable alums of Rosenwald schools, including Representative John Lewis, Maya Angelou, and Eugene Robinson, to name a few. When a 1954 Supreme Court ruling declared segregation in education unconstitutional, Rosenwald schools became obsolete. Once the pride of their communities, many were abandoned or demolished.
I was learning in first grade, I was learning second and third grade material. So there was some advantages. This is what we knew. And we had our friends, and we would share what we had.
A lot of the grandparents did not tell the grandkids that they have now of what they went through going to this two-room school. And coming to this two-room school, I'll never forget it. It was the best years of my life.
The Rosenwald schools are an example of groundbreaking community uplift. These schools have produced some of the most influential Americans of our time. I hope that inspires you to uncover your own hidden history. Who knows? You just may find a Rosenwald connection.